went to public school for 2 years in high school.
Okay, how many guys went to private school?
I did as well.
So I'm sure there are people in here who went to both.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I went to both. So I'll tell you a little short story about myself. I went to private school from kindergarten to 6th grade. I went to the University of Chicago Laboratory School, which is known to be like one of the best private schools in Chicago. The Obama kids went there. But as much money as my parents were paying, it wasn't worth it. Honestly, I liked it so much better going to public school, and this is why I am here to persuade you that public school is better than private school. I say that public school is better than private school for an array of reasons. A lot of those reasons stem from diversity, being creative with oneself, which is eliminating uniforms, and last but not least, the cost. Now, I understand that it takes a lot of money to run private institutions, but I don't really think that it's quite necessary for kids who are not not going to college. Starting off with diversity. Diversity is one of the main points that I would like to bring up when speaking about private schooling. It is one of the things that I think private schools lack when it comes to race, types of people, and different class structure. It almost deprives you of seeing what the real world is really like. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't shelter their kids and keep them from certain things, but I think private school takes it to the extreme. It definitely rules out a certain type of people with the expensive price that you have to pay to go there. In the book Reign of Error by Richard D. Kallenberg, he states, so are you telling me that my kids can't go to school with the rich kids? Are you telling me that my student isn't getting as good as an education as another student because of money? I think that's crazy and untrue, and I don't understand how people contribute to the nonsense of private school. And I think that that's correct. You shut out people who can afford, people who are possibly different, or people who look different, and really what kind of school really wants to promote that. Next, I'll talk about uniforms. Now, for me, I don't know about you, but I like the way I dress. It definitely expresses myself, and whether you dress like a gentleman like Dr. Johnson every day or come to class in your pajamas, nevertheless, it's your own expression. Dressing yourself is like a subtle rite of passage into being a big girl or a big boy, and when it's stripped away from you by uniform, I think that puts a damper on being artistic. This is one thing that I really enjoyed myself about transferring from private school to public school, was seeing that not only was everyone different in shape, sizes, color, but everyone also dressed different, had their own sense of style because they put together a cool outfit that I only got to do on the weekends when it doesn't even matter anymore. America's magazine Marie S. Myers quotes, private schools say that they have the uniform policy in place so that poor kids aren't discouraged or belittled by the rich kids. But how many poor kids do you know going to middle school or high school that cost $35,000 a year? And I cannot agree with her more. There aren't very many. Now, last but not least, I'd like to talk about costs. Now, that's going to scare you. Private school is not cheap, actually in the thousands. And if you can't afford to get a scholarship or afford it at all, you won't be going. Private schools can range from about $25,000 to $45,000 a year, and that's actually just about $5,000 or $6,000 less than what people pay to go to Harvard. And that's without room and board. I think that's crazy. So what are you paying this money for? Are you paying this money so that your kids have a better education? Or are you paying this money so that they have a good name behind their school? I don't really know. But nevertheless, it doesn't guarantee you a scholarship into college. So what you might be thinking you're paying for great education, you're also going to be paying for college for your kid as well. In an article written by Christine Ryan Gelassi called Is It Worth It?, she states, my kid, which is a Chicago writer, I just had to put that out there. My kid went to Kenwood Academy, a simple CPS school right down the street from the University of Chicago Lab School, where my niece went. And my sister is paying $35,000 a year. And while my daughter scored a 30 on her ACT, my niece scored a 24 in what my sister likes to call accelerated classes. Something that I think people should think about. So when thinking about all the aspects that really come into play when talking about schooling, is private school that great? Is it really worth all that money? Lack of diversity, lack of artistic direction? Do you really want your kids to learn more or faster, if they say? sometimes you just have to think about those kids when think about those things when thinking about schooling. I went to a normal public school, high school called OPRF, and although I graduated with a class of about 800 to 900 people, about 3/4 of those people went to prominent, outstanding universities. So that's just to give you an idea of what public schools can be.